I like it too. I like it too.
Right.
And so one of the main points that we trying to get here is I came with just showing the difference and his brother and him, that although they complement each other, you know, and although they never bump heads, and they have a great brothership.
That's true.
A great family orientation
right.
with each other. I can speak personally because I know every time I'm around Zakane, he's always saying great things about his brother. Always. And for real, I think he really, really admires him.
Of course.
Entirely, I think too much. But that's still good because anybody...
say something because he feels the same way. He was just here yesterday. And he like, that's just the way they roll.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's right. And so the brotherhood is the camaraderie, especially at this age, is still brothers loving each other and moving around. And I said, Kane is 82, still driving, right?
Yeah.
Still driving, still moving around. At the congregation, every day at the synagogue, as much as he can. We ran a congregation, personally, myself, the spiritual leader, and he was there every Shabbat, you know, like an oil well, helping our services to run smoothly. One story I want to say, y'all, real quick. I was invited to go as a guest speaker to my old congregation in Bethel.
Sure.
This was about maybe, I would say about maybe 5 years ago. And I invited Zakane to come along with me. You know, this is my elder, he rolling with me, you know. So we go, and we're sitting there, and I gave the message. You know, I was asked to be a guest speaker and gave I said a pretty good message. It was from my heart to the people. It's my family. Mm-hmm. And so when I got done, they asked Zakane to have something to say. You know, to me, I kind of, you know, it seemed like it was an overlooking, you know, kind of thing. Even though there was Zakane, it wasn't like, okay, thank you, Moreh Yoel, great message. This is what we got from the message, da-da-da-da. It was like automatically straight to him when I got done speaking. Now, mind you, watch this. He taught me something that day that sticks with me and has molded my life. When he got up and they had him have something to say, he stood up, right? And he said, yeah, we happy to have Zakane wasn't here. Wow, we love you, da-da-da-da-da. He said, oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here, and I'm always happy to be here amongst family. And he said, but I'm here today, and I don't want the attention to be on me. You know, today we're here for my son, you know, my beloved Yoel, and to focus on his message and what he brought. And I thought that was very enlightening and very fulfilling.
So, yeah,
you know,
it was so hot.
And the fact that he could have easily got up and put the attention on him and said, yeah, all right, Zakane is in the building. You know, forget the young brother that got up to give a message. Now, he didn't do that. He, you know, put the attention right back on me who had gave the message that day.
Now, when you came back to Albuquerque, the message that you had.
Yeah, you know, and it really touched me to see that humility right there in action, in person. And I modeled after that because I went, I think, 2 years.
I remember that.
That's right. And so my young brother, Moreh Yoel, giving a message.
Yeah.
And they asked me to get up and have something to say. I gave the attention right back to the young brother who gave the message. And that's the humility that we learn from our elders. It's good to have a person say something, but to see it modeled, you can follow that better. You can follow that model better than you can somebody telling you something they don't do. Mm-hmm. And so I have just the utmost respect for this man. This is not going to be his last time on camera to the world, you know, because people need to know what he knows and learn what he can teach. And the man is thorough in Torah, thorough in Judaism and Kabbalah, you name it, this is the man. One thing he's taught me, even learning under him, because I was more Hebraic centered, you know what I mean? And I was like one of the bar Hebrews from the block, you know what I mean? He just taught me to be more, to learn to listen, to learn to be more kind to people, to learn to include other people's thought. You don't have to be closed. Learn to not treat people differently because they may not be the same culture you are.
That's right.
You know, or the same color you are. Or,
right.
You know, and so he taught me much of that.
Two
And
ears
so
and one mouth.
that's right. And so I'm just thinking, what are some of the things that people want to know, particularly other than what you mentioned in terms of your upbringing in the 50s with Rabbi Respis, and Rabbi Respis had a Hebrew community then too, right?
Right.
Yeah, and so I'm just trying to think back. Who was Rabbi Respis' teacher? You know who that may have been, or how did he learn?
Well, he claimed that he was inspired by the Eternal
Directly.
directly.
Okay, you know what year he said that? He said that happened for him?
I don't know the year, but all this happened before I met him.
Oh,
you see.
okay.
And matter of fact, right now I'm in contact with his family every week because we both go to the same synagogue. And one of his sons has become a rabbi. His name is Gamaliel Respis.
Okay.
Yes.
Rabbi Gamaliel Respis.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And he comes to mp4 Israel synagogue every week. He comes there.
So for people who don't know about mp4 Israel, could you tell them about what it is, how long you've been there, what your positioning is there, and how they can find out about it if they're interested in going?
mp4 Israel is dates back to 1740, and of course it's called the Synagogue of the Revolution because the revolution was fought during that particular era rather, and they had a member whose name was Chaim Solomon, and he was a financier, and when George Washington needed money to support his troops, he would come to Chaim Solomon, and Chaim Solomon would come to the congregation, mp4 Israel, and raise money to buy clothing, for the Continental Army at that time.
Wow, we taking it back to the revolution.
And so mp4 Israel is one of the oldest synagogues in the United States. We have a sister synagogue that is in New York City, which I forget the name of right now. I can't remember the name.
But mp4 Israel is older than the one in New York, right?
Well, it's not exactly really determined, but I think the one in New York is older.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the way when I read the history, I'm inclined to think the one in New York. But mp4 Israel had more input because mp4 Israel was situated in Philadelphia, which was the first capital of the United States.
That's right.
See,
it's the home of the Liberty Bell right here.
Right.
That's what the Constitution was actually inaugurated.
After the Manhattan thing, wasn't it? Manhattan?
Well,
they talk about they
the
built that
synagogue is-
on. No, I'm talking about the ground they built it on in Manhattan.
it's in
The one that's
Manhattan. Right.
and that was something that they took and they threw. Manhattan wasn't a place.
No.
It was something they threw trash. They built the ground up on.
At this particular time,
And
Philadelphia had more people than New York.
exactly.
Wow.
Right.
Exactly.
Philadelphia had the largest city, in the United
I
States.
never knew that Philadelphia was in New York.
Oh,
Ever.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
In the process of time, New York outgrew
Okay.
as far as
from all the foreigners. Okay.
Right. With the natives.
So,
Southern land.
So mp4 Israel dates back to the Revolution, and it's called the Synagogue of the Revolution.
Wow.
And
And that's here in Philadelphia,
that's
right?
in here in Philadelphia.
Okay.
It's the oldest continuous synagogue in the United States. See, in New York, it was interrupted because of the troops there.
Okay.
And matter of fact, a lot of people from New York fled to Philadelphia to have service here. You see what I mean? So I
So
mean,
the Washington thing, that came up with the what was the name of that? Before they signed the Declaration of Independence. Yes. Yes.
But a lot of people don't understand that why Philadelphia is called the city of brotherly love. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, they have the wrong concept. Mm-hmm. The reason why that Philadelphia was called the city of brotherly love is because William Penn was, he belonged to the Society of Friends. Mm-hmm. And he had conflict with, I forget right now who was the king at that time. I think it was Charles II. And his father was an admiral in the British Navy. Mm-hmm. And
it was. You're right. It was the second because the things that they were doing in Europe then.
Yeah.
So the Shaka thing with the African.
Yeah.
So his father found his father found favor with the King of England, but the son did not because he was a Quaker. Mm-hmm. You see, mm-hmm. So his father gave the area of Philadelphia. It wasn't called Philadelphia then, but he gave him this area, mm-hmm. and. Matter of fact, he gave the entire Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And at that time, Pennsylvania was called Penn's Woods.
Mm. Y'all getting some history here, because this is stuff y'all, they ain't teach us in school right here.
And
Pennsylvania was called Penn's Woods?
Right.
Wow.
So, Philadelphia originally was built on 4 squares.
Wow.
And I'm going to tell you the 4 squares that Philadelphia built on. Mm-hmm. It was Washington Square.
Yes, it is a Washington
That was the first square.
Yes.
Across from Washington Square, you had, what was that, Franklin Square?
Franklin Square.
You go up further, you have Rittenhouse Square.
Yes.
And you cross from Rittenhouse Square.
Third, second market.
You had Logan Square.
Wow.
See, Philadelphia was just was that
4 squares.
That area, that small area at the time. In the middle, what was in the middle?
Center City?
City Hall.
I hope you got that stand with a table. I hope you got that, because that is something I always tell my students about. When they see me do it, I said, look, I got it from my elder, y'all. And so y'all see him in action, hit the table when he got excited. You know what I mean? That
City Hall was the middle square.
Look at spirit in him, y'all. There you go. Yes.
So, otherwise, the reason why we have religious freedom, at this particular time, there was no place in America or in the colonies that had religious freedom.
Wow.
But because William Penn was persecuted in England, he came to America, this area, and established these 4 squares. And he said all the religions, whether they were Catholic, Protestant, Lutheran, you name it, they would all have religious freedom in this area.
Wow, and the squares.
Right.
Wow.
It wasn't the signers of the forefathers that instituted religious freedom. It was William Penn that did it.
Wow.
And that's why they call city of city brotherly love, because it permitted all religions to flourish.
Wow. And you know what? And that's funny, because now we're going to tell people something else on top of that you taught me. It's a book called Israel and the Appomattox.
Yeah.
Okay. Exactly.
By Melvin Patrick Eli. Okay.
Right. That book is over there.
Let's get it. Zacchaeus has a library out this world.
This is her library.
This yours? Okay.
Mine is downstairs.
All right, well, come help us out, Judy. We need to find that book.
I saw it there. I don't know.
I see. I got it. I know it because I got it. Here it is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. There it is. So we got Israel and the Appomattox, and this was a book that Zacchaeus told me about himself. This book tells you about Melvin Patrick Eli, and Zacchaeus can tell you the rest. But the reason I wanted him to tag this one, because he just got done talking about Jefferson and Washington. So let's tie it together.
Yeah, well,
because now you tie in the Hebrew influence on there.
Yeah, well, it's a long time since I had, dealt this, so my memory, is...
So I'll help you out then, because he taught me about this. Now, when we had the emancipation, when they were letting go slaves, Washington or even Lincoln had a cousin or nephew. His name was Richard Randolph. Richard Randolph. And Richard Randolph actually followed the orders of, was it Abraham or Washington, one of the two or the other, because he was their relative or their cousin. Yeah. And their orders was for them to let go his indentured slaves. And of course, we hold fast, especially from the books of Rudolph Windsor and also from Rabbi Yaacob Windsor, that these slaves back then were God's chosen people. And so to prove that they were is that they called their land back then Israel Hill.
That's right.
Why would slaves name their land Israel Hill? Why would they keep many of the cultures and Hebrew principles, in our culture? The defilement law, the purification law, good eating habits, all those principles that are in the scripture they were keeping. They also had Hebrew names, you see, and so there were many things that they were known for that showed you a connection to their Hebrew African heritage, you see. And so that was taught to me from Zakane in this book. And it's decent that it gives a connection with Washington and with Abraham, because you was tying that in about this being a city, Penwood, this being a city of brotherly love, and here Hebrews were living on it and knowledgeable of themselves. So thank you for this knowledge that you're giving me. I'm telling you, I share this Zakane with many people, and I appreciate you teaching me this.
Sure.
Gang. And so going back to what you were saying about the city of brotherly love and Mikveh Israel, you were talking about how Mikveh Israel been around for a long time, given the history. Now, I at one time questioned Mikveh Israel. I was like, man, I see, some white folks and black folks. What's going on? What's that? And then you had taught me about Spaniard history and dealing with Ashkenazi versus Sephardi.
Right.
And then you were beginning to tell me the importance of knowing the Sephardi connection to who we are as Africans and as Hebrews. So what is the Sephardi presence or connection at Mikveh Israel? I remember you telling me about how, many, those, Sephardis have a connection with Mikveh.
Well, in Israel, you have two basic cultures.
Yes, sorry.
One is Ashkenaz and one is Sephardic. The Ashkenaz include mostly Jews that come from Europe, Poland, Germany, Russia, and so forth, so on. But Sephardic Jews, it includes all those Jews that come from the Middle East and Africa.
Yes.
Egypt, Morocco, other areas in Africa.
Yes.
So forth and so on.
Yes.
And we identify with the Sephardic Jews.
Okay.
We're definitely not European, you see.
Yes.
So what you do, since you're Sephardic, Mikveh Israel refers to itself Sephardic.
So they consider themselves a Sephardic congregation.
Yeah. But what you got to understand is that in the process of time, other Jews have come to Mikveh Israel, even Ashkenaz Jews, and have sort of blended into the congregation.
Okay.
So although all the Jews are not are not Sephardic, but they have accepted the Sephardic culture. You see what I mean? So this is why they are also called Sephardic.
Okay.
In the process of time, no matter where Jews, a lot of people don't like the term Jews.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, since we're on that subject, a news was run out.
What's that? Okay. Well, we're running out of battery time, everybody. So we're gonna do it anyway because time is getting late, and I want to have my elder up late because it's always a pleasure to see him whenever I come into Philadelphia.
Yeah. Well, before you sign off, I would like to say there was an item in the Philadelphia Inquirer this week that appeared on Wednesday, and it talked about the Hebrew Israelites.
Yes.
Did you hear about it?
Yes, I saw that. I saw the news article.
But you read it?
Yeah, I saw the news clip and everything.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, and it's saying, and I just put out a Facebook post about this, and my name is Yazway on Facebook, that many of our Hebrew family, they out here agitating the enemy.
Yeah, right.
And go ahead, Zach.
And they're using obscenities.
Yeah, they're using obscenities.
They're not. What can you teach to people by using obscenities?
You can't teach them anything.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, they really are making it bad for the people who want to go straight.
Yeah.
You know?
And listen up, y'all heard that from an elder. Been in this culture before. Some of y'all was even a thought. Okay, a prominent elder at that, Rabbi Yaacob Windsor, the brother of Professor Rudolph Windsor, is telling you straight up. Those of you out here calling women bees, calling people hoes and whore.
Right.
We get your vibe and your zealousness of wanting to see people correct themselves, acknowledge their sins, and turn from their wicked ways. But that's never the way the Most High sent His messengers. The Most High never sent people to, unless He was going to destroy something. He sent people to save people with hate. He didn't send people to save people with malice. If anything, we're supposed to be being an example to some of these people and showing them that we represent the Most High. Nobody's saying be a sucker. We are from the street. I mean, you could probably go to a majority of Hebrews. Right now, I'm in the heart of North Philly. What's this? Logan, Philadelphia. We can go outside and show you what ghetto look like and what murder and all that drugs look like. That's easy. But to show a person what righteousness look like, then that's the challenge. That's the challenge. So we have to continue being an example, even in the face of our enemy. And think, anybody that go to war, you don't taunt your enemy. You don't let them know that sometimes even that they know that you know they're an enemy. You stop making stuff hard out here for our people. There's nothing wrong with waking them up and telling them who they are, but you ain't got to be out here going to the enemy itself and asking the enemy for freedom. That's
right.
I mean, that's not Pharaoh here, right? Why are we going to the enemy here and asking him for freedom that the Most High has already given us? So y'all heard the elder tell y'all making obscenities and it's not making the nation look good. We have to stop that, okay? We get the point of your zealousness wanting to wake people up, but is there such thing as being right versus being righteous?
That's right.
So even in being right, we got to make sure we are doing that righteously.
Exactly.
And that's what you saw going on, right?
Yes.
How did that make you feel saying that?